Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the fourth week of competition for the Sterling Chess League. And what happened was Coach Brion and I played in this week's matches. So we had an idea of going over a game and talking about our own feelings about the game without an analyzer in a way to just recommend to other players how they should go over their games and try to model what that was like for us. So I got a lot out of it. I hope you, instead of a interview with a guest this week, I just left that as the portion where we bring on a guest. Once again, it's Coach Brion, but a lot of good things came out of that. So I hope you take some time to watch it and maybe learn for yourself and get something out of it so it models how to go over games with your next opponent. So in this week's games, let's go over what the matchups were. We had Sam versus Jalen. We had, and these are the results, right? These are the results that came in this week. We had Austin with a, some would argue, upset against Chris because Chris was at 3 points. And Austin, I believe, had only won one at the time. Next, you've got Aaron Rivera, who played Kinnick, and Aaron, our eighth grade player, won this match. And then Tia and Trevor did not figure out a way to schedule. We had it, then we lost it. So currently they're a double forfeit. In the Rock and Sock League, or division, sorry, the Rock and Sock division, I'm not going to say I did it because I didn't get a win, but getting a draw against Coach Brion is, I will take it and happily take it any day of the week. In our game, if you go watch the next portion, you'll see that I was down to 11 seconds. I believe Coach Brion was down to 6 seconds. We agreed to a draw, not really, neither of us really knowing what the position was. After going back and analyzing, I did have a win, but again, to play perfectly with 11 seconds is asking a lot. So I'll take the draw. At least I'm on the board. That's the positive note here. Next up, we have Elias and Jacob, who also had trouble scheduling their match. Elias took the blame for that. So currently, he will get the forfeit 0 and Jacob will get the forfeit 1. However, I encourage these players to still play their match. So for the integrity of the league. Martin and Xander, we had Xander with his first win of the season against Martin, who was undefeated up until that point. And then Ryan did win against Sam. So don't feel bad, Sam. Ryan is a buzzsaw, as we've discussed in another week's episode. Let's bring this to the standings. After those matches, here's how we currently lie. We have, wait 1 second. We have Jalen, who is on the top of the Pineapple Division. We have Chris in second place, Austin in second place, both with 3 wins. That was a big win for Austin because it tied it up at 3 between him and Chris. Still have Sam, Trevor, and Tia looking for their first win. Not to worry, it will happen. And then in the Rock and Sock division, Coach Brion, no surprise here, leading the pack. We have Martin with 3. Again, could have been an outright leader, but again, this is a hard division, right? All these matches are tough. So Ryan is right there, 2.5. Elias is right there at 2.5. And then Coach Penne bringing up the bottom. But brighter times are, if I look here, I've actually played the top 4 players right now in the rankings. So we'll see. That at least looks, that's a positive outlook on my part to maybe see if it eases up a little bit. New matches for this week. There it is. In the Pineapple division, we have Tia versus Sam, Chris versus Aaron, Kinnick versus Jalen, and Trevor versus Austin. So, interesting matches here. I think the one that there's a couple that I really would like to highlight. Can Jalen keep it up? Can he go 5-0 on in the Sterling Chess League to start this round robin off? He's going to face Kinnick, who's a soon-to-be senior. So this could be tough for our 7th grade prodigy. I would also like to see what happens with Sam and Tia. Hopefully both players take their time, play a really good match. That could be an interesting one. In the Rock and Sock division, Coach Brion versus Coach Martin, 2 very high points getters right now. Xander, you will have your hands full with Elias. Ryan versus Jacob, both players. This could be interesting, right? I think they're both tied currently. And then Sam versus Coach Penne, and we'll see how this goes, right? We'll see what happens if I can get my first win of the season against Sam. So a lot to be determined, and hopefully the excitement keeps going. So thank you for watching. Hopefully this was maybe a little shorter episode. But again, I hope you get to watch the portion with Coach Brion, and that's where we'll end this podcast. So thanks again. Look forward to the matches this week. Check in next week. All right. Hi, everybody. Back with Coach Brion. This happened really quickly where we are back. We previewed it. If you saw the last podcast, you would have seen that Coach Brion and I were the scheduled match this week in the Sterling Chess League. I, of course, was, shaking uncontrollably for at least the day leading up to it. But I'll let what we're going to do. We thought this would be interesting. This is Coach Brion's idea, and I loved it. For this week's podcast, one of the things we would do is go over this game post-mortem, and just means, the game is over. And now we're trying to get all the benefits we can out of going over the game. And we would encourage all players to do this together. We encourage them to do this, whether it's a tournament game and you just played somebody in person over the board, or an online game. That's the unique opportunities that this chess league presents, is a chance to talk about your games, think about your games. And so Coach Brion and I are going to try to model that. And Coach, if you had any other input as far as the benefits, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, in the 7 years that I've been helping you now, I find that most players don't offer to go over their games with their opponents afterwards. And sometimes it's legitimate. You got another round coming up quick. You got to eat your lunch. I think a lot of times people just don't, they're embarrassed because they lost, or they don't want to feel like they're gloating if they won. But one of the great benefits of going over a game very quickly with your opponent, and you see grandmasters doing this after virtually every game, it gives you just a quick insight into what your opponent might have been thinking. So you don't have to guess what they were thinking. You know what their plans were. So when you do your own analysis later, it's that much more informative to you, and it helps you that much more. Was I right? Was I wrong in analyzing their ideas? That sort of thing. It's a great way to improve, and it's a nice way to get to meet other players a little better too.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. This was our game. I want to let you know that you did not disappoint. You opened with Queen's Pawn, and I did, this is maybe a message for other players too, is I went back. I actually looked at both your Lee Chess games and your chess.com games. Anything I could find where Coach Brion opened with Queen's Pawn. And was I correct in determining you were going to play the Queen's Gambit by choice? That's your normal?
Yeah, if D4, D5, then I almost always play C4,
Yep.
Queen's Gambit.
And so I did probably 45 minutes to an hour's worth of kind of opening prep, because I just don't feel as comfortable. I've played the King's Indian defense for a long time, and I just really kind of wanted something different. Do you have a preference as to what players play after on move 2 here for Black?
I have a lot more familiarity with the Queen's Gambit. I usually go into an exchange variation.
So you would prefer me to exchange here, right?
No, usually what happens is the player will play E6, and then pretty quickly after that, I'll exchange.
Okay.
And ironically, in our game, that's what happened anyway.
Because you did not choose to exchange right away. You made it here. And again, I'll be honest, the opening prep that I made was really comfortable up to a certain point.
And we were playing pretty quick here.
I was shocked how much time I had remaining, which is again a testament to preparation, because in other games I'll burn probably 10 minutes just in trying to make sure I'm not messing up the opening. But this was pretty smooth, I thought. And I was surprised by honestly how much time you were taking with some moves. Like again,
what got me was you played C6 and you played E6.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not used to that. I'm usually used to a player playing E6 or C6, but not both.
Good. And that was something that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah. And I was trying to figure out if there was if that created a problem for you, because usually when you play C6, you stop the place for your knight to develop.
Yeah.
So it seemed like a suspenders and belts kind of approach by you to play both, but there we are.
Yeah. I had gone over a lot of games where this came up and this was a variation that I liked. So I went ahead and went with it. So
So
this
this
one
was, go ahead.
I thought about, obviously you present two choices here. I could exchange with the E pawn or the C pawn. Do you feel like this was the right choice?
Either one is fine. What you get is you get two entirely different games.
Okay.
If you played C takes D5, you have kind of a Slav
Yeah.
symmetrical position. And it's really hard for white to try to get an advantage in that. When you played it this way, this is right back to the traditional Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation that I'm so used to.
Oh, okay. I put you in your comfort zone. Well,
Yeah, and then I took myself out of it a couple moves later.
okay. Well, I just liked the long-term perspective for the light squared bishop making this move. I felt like it would maybe get life
Yep.
sooner. Um, so and it ended up the light squared bishop ends up being my downfall later, but
Yeah. Yeah.
here we go. So you make this move. What?
Yeah. I moved that because I didn't want to get my bishop trapped and I didn't want to move it back to D2
Okay.
with the pawns chasing it. So I
Okay.
thought I could tuck it into the corner if I had to.
Gotcha. Okay. Just developing a piece, getting ready to castle.
Yep.
And again, all the games I'd gone over, I like the placement of the bishop here.
It's a perfect place for it.
I was surprised you didn't make the E3 move sooner, just based on
I,
something I'd seen from you.
I could have, yeah, but I just moved choice.
It's okay. And really, just even in that just preparation, I thought this was coming. I thought this was coming. I honestly didn't see you castling queenside, not to, ruin the suspense here for
No, I'll explain that in a minute. I'll
Okay.
explain that in a minute.
All right. In this opening, that bishop is just such a pain.
Yeah,
And honestly, what it does is it is inspired me to maybe look at playing that Queen's Gambit a little more often. Just what a great move that is, and what a really great opening that is to put some pressure here on Black to make some uncomfortable decisions.
yeah,
I did castle,
yep. I developed my bishop. Oh, the queen. Yep, the queen out.
and so you're setting up that again. I still saw you castling kingside up to this point. Now, here's where I made. I mean, I moved the queen here. Just again, just kind of some setups that I'd seen. I thought were
Yeah.
good. Still kind of leaves a ultimate problem here about these two pieces, right? How do I get this knight? How do I get this bishop out and still move the knight? But the problem is, if I move the knight, then you're going to take my knight, and then my pawns are going to be terrible, and my
Your
king's.
king side's really compromised.
So there, I already started seeing some issues here with the setup.
But see, it's funny because for my end, with that queen bishop battery that you've got,
Mm-hmm.
now if you start to chase my bishop, I can't duck back to G3
Yes,
because you're double attacking that square.
I get the pawn. Right. I did see that too.
So that pretty much forces me either to sacrifice the exchange if you push the pawn.
Yes.
Knight takes pawn, pawn takes knight, bishop takes pawn,
Yep.
or to just exchange off the bishop right now.
Okay. Which I think is what you do. So
Yeah.
you didn't want this, correct? You didn't want this move to happen. Is that right?
Right.
Because then I go up I felt like that's risky for me too. I wasn't really sure if I would do it just because cracking open that king side is still a scary thought. I almost thought if I did this, you'd probably weigh heavily on the sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, I would have. The problem is that in this exchange variation,
Uh-huh.
white's chances are usually with the minority attack on the queen side.
Okay.
So I didn't have a lot of way. I mean, there are variations where white castles queen side and does a pawn storm on the king side.
Okay.
But I just took the easier approach.
All right. You did. You exchanged. I was a little surprised, but that solved a couple problems for me, I
Yep,
suppose.
yep, it did.
But then created more when you did this because now I don't have a great spot for the bishop anymore.
Yeah, yeah, which is why I did that.
Because and it's great. So now ultimately, yeah, I made this move, not a stall move of any kind, just again I'm getting a semi-open file. I thought it was again
Centralizing your pieces. Yep,
improving a piece. I'd like to get that bishop somewhere, but again, choices are limited at the moment.
yep,
Uh, this was where I really kind of was shocked, and I
yeah,
I wanted to. I just previewed that move only to see how much time I took. I took about 2 minutes here.
yeah.
I
I
was
stumped you on
very
that one.
conscious of the clock too. I wanted to make a concerted effort to at least stay ahead a little bit because in this league I've gotten myself in so much time trouble so far.
Yeah, yeah.
I really did want to make a concerted effort to be more decisive in this
And
game.
we were very even on the clock for almost the entire game.
Well, right now I'm 4 minutes ahead, so I was thinking this is great. I can,
Yeah,
but again, 20 minutes is still a lot of time, so I wasn't really banking on the
yeah.
clock to save me at this point. I did feel like this was a key moment in the game where I had to make a decision on what I want to do.
So
And
yeah, I'll tell you what my thinking was about the Queenside Castle.
okay,
I didn't analyze it deeply, but I thought if I did a kingside castle, you got both bishops, your queen and your knight aimed at my king side.
right,
And my knight and my light squared bishop are walled off from the king side,
yeah,
as would be my rook, my two rooks. And I thought if I castled king side, I'm really inviting a sacrifice and an attack someplace. And in a half-hour game, I just didn't have time to analyze if it would work.
yeah,
So that's why I avoided it.
okay.
But I knew this was risky because, you've got the queenside majority.
And just in what I've learned over the years, my thought was castling on opposite sides. Now we can see who can attack the other side. So I tried
Yep.
to jump out. And was that move just to remove the queen and king from the same?
No, it was put the queen and the rook on the same file
Ah, okay, okay.
because I saw that right now your pawn is
Yeah,
pinned in front of the queen,
yeah,
but the queen's protected by the bishop.
yes.
So I knew that if I got two attackers on your queen, I could be up in exchange,
That was
and I could optimize that pawn, that pinned pawn.
yeah. And I by making this move, I'll be honest, I did not see that. I saw obviously I saw this. Like I knew my queen was going to be threatened and I
Yeah,
knew this becomes a liability, but I still was just too uber focused on throwing stuff at your side.
yeah.
And that's
And
where I got
obviously,
into big trouble here because
and
after
obviously B4 wouldn't have helped you because I would have just tucked the knight into that pocket
yes,
on C5.
absolutely. And I saw that too, that I didn't want it to go. You're saying here, right? Or
Yeah,
no?
you would take a couple steps.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I had time.
Yep. Okay. So like-minded thinking here. This was my major mistake in the game.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And
All
it
you had to do was move the queen off to one side.
right. And I didn't realize how deadly I didn't take the appropriate I did take 2 minutes here, but my focus wasn't on the queen, it was on the bishop. I wanted to know where I should place this. It was my last piece where I had to do something. And
Yeah,
if this gets moved, right? If this gets moved, then I can slide a rook here, and then I feel like we're back to okay,
yeah. You
right? So
underestimated the threat.
yeah, I did big time. And so this move,
Did nothing for you.
no, it killed me.
Yeah,
Absolutely killed me because now this move is just when I saw this, I deflated. This was a killer. I knew that I had messed up.
And I know when my opponent messes up because all of a sudden they start taking more time on the clock.
Ah,
So
I did, in fact. I took 3 minutes to make this move and ultimately decided I should, because I had moves I was between. I thought move here. I didn't, and actually that move is coming up as far as my thought process, but
yeah,
I decided ultimately just go here. You
I
took,
don't think it made I don't think it made a difference at this point with
I
how
don't
you
either.
approached it.
I don't either. And the truth is, if you play this well, and I mean, obviously, you've given yourself a distinct advantage here where if you play the rest of the game well, you're winning, right? I mean, you're up.
Yeah, I figure I'm up 2 or 3
Oh, yeah.
on points by this
Yep.
point.
You're up because now, after this happens, I can't take back, right? I simply have to decide now what's the path of least trouble here. And I decide to do this. I
Yeah,
tried to try to be aggressive, and I'm seeing early on that I've got this, but I don't
right,
know if it's a real threat yet. Not yet. Obviously, things have
right.
to move out of the way, but at least I'm conscious of it being there.
And that's partly why I took with the queen instead of the bishop.
Yeah, because you took a lot of time here. Look at
I
that.
didn't know which way to take. I knew I was going to take. I just didn't know which way.
You
I
took,
wanted to do the most forcing version.
yeah, you took over 4 minutes here to decide on a path.
Yeah,
And now this is where I was also in between. What do I do? Do I go here? Do I take, which again, I'm down. So trading is probably not super desirable either.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have great options here. I decide to take.
And I was worried if you had ducked the exchange, if my queen might get trapped, but I didn't see it. So I thought I was safe.
Yeah, I think you were too. And I don't even know. We're making a conscious effort to stay away from the analyzer and just talk
Right.
about how we're feeling about this game, because I don't know truly what the best move was here. I don't know if it was moving the queen out of the way and keeping those on the board. I decided to do this with the thought of I can slide my rook over, and again try to just be aggressive after this on the king side if I or on the
Yep.
queen side if I can.
Yep. Makes sense. And
Um,
now I'm feeling, as far as I'm concerned, at this point, I'm feeling like all I got to do is, as they say, play professionally,
mhm.
keep your counterplay to a minimum, and go in for the win
Yeah.
because I'm up 2 pawns.
Yeah, up 2 pawns at this point. You're safe to trade off, and I'm not, right? I don't want to trade, I don't want to exchange,
Yeah.
but you probably do at this point, which is why moving this knight here kept my knight out of,
Which is why I moved that knight there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to get my knight more active, and I don't want to do it via a weird path to get it there. I want to just go right for it, but I can't. This
Yep.
move wasn't probably really that much of a threat, but it keeps you from moving your pawn.
Yep.
Um, I thought I really didn't want you to do this. I didn't want you to move the knight here.
Mm.
Lucky for me, you did not.
Yeah. I didn't want to move the knight because I don't want your knight joining the battle,
Okay. You do this.
which I think is fine.
Perfectly fine. Yeah. Still can't take my bishop because of the pin.
Yeah.
So again, just trying to stay aggressive here, create
Yeah.
threats if I can, even though that's not really a threat yet. But
Yeah. You unpin the pawn now. I mean, the pawn's protected, so it's not, you don't have the threat on it anymore.
all right. Last ditch effort here. I am,
Yeah. I had 2 or 3 different ways. I remember I told you a minute ago, I just wanted to be professional,
yeah,
use counterplay, exchange down, and go for the win. But when you start to get under time pressure, and for me,
yeah,
anything under 10 minutes is time pressure, I started to get cute.
uh,
And I thought, well, you take my bishop, you take my knight, I take your bishop. It's all pretty even.
yeah,
Forgetting completely about my bishop on c6.
yeah. I was shocked that this move wasn't made, that you didn't just swing over to completely dominate that open file.
Right, which is what I could have done, or I could have just moved the rook to d1
Okay.
to protect the knight,
Yeah.
because you only got one piece on my rook.
Yeah, yeah. But instead, this move was made, and this swings the game.
Yeah, just so stupid.
Well, I had to even we both have 6 minutes, so we're both feeling it a little bit. And even I had to just take a step back to say, I thought that move was there. I was hoping and praying, but then I'm like, he let me back in.
And it's
I wanted to make sure there wasn't a catch. So I
and you
took
know those times as soon as you move the piece and you let go, you think that was really dumb. This
well
is one of those times.
flashback to my game with Elias. I just
Yeah, yeah,
the queen, and you're just hoping, you're just saying, I hope he doesn't see that, but nope,
yeah.
I saw it, and so now I'm thinking it's swung now where I'm feeling the same way. I'm thinking just play safe, not safe, but just don't blunder, and it should be okay.
I will say though, I mean, I'm down a pawn. I got two pieces. I got two pawns for a piece, so I'm not losing yet.
No,
And your knight is out of the game right now, or more or less is. And I knew if I could keep the knight out of the game, I could focus on the 2-1, 2 versus 1 pawn majority,
yeah.
try for some
Are
counterplay.
you thinking this side is where you're going to attack?
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to attack up the middle because that just gives your rooks more points of
Okay. Yeah.
control.
So after I take, you go here again, keeping my knight out.
Yeah,
I thought of ways to jig jog the knight into the game, different squares where that could happen, but
the long and tortuous path.
I I don't know if this was the right call. I decide to do this.
I thought that was a good move, Joel. I thought that instantly puts pressure. I mean, you got an advantage. You might as well put pressure on it.
Mm-hmm. But again, it allows you another pass pawn or a pass pawn if you want it.
Yeah.
So really, just with fighting a clock, I took almost 2 minutes of valuable time at this point to decide
We're
on.
both down to 4 minutes, I think, aren't we? I can't read it
We're
right
at
away.
4 minutes and 14 seconds for you, 4 minutes and 8 seconds for me. You took 2 minutes of, again, super valuable time to decide on this path.
Yeah.
I went here.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do here. I thought the king, I got to get more active with something. Eventually, I'm thinking of bringing the king to the center because there's no way it's going to help me over here.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you look at the field of battle right now, it's basically two rooks and two pawns versus two rooks and a pawn.
Mhm.
So you got to get more material over there.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm very much afraid of your rooks right now.
Good.
Yeah.
I thought maybe there might be more to it than there was. I
Okay.
thought by deflecting the one rook, I might get something more, but I didn't in the end.
No. And
Although I did the
I
counter.
really, I thought about not taking here. I thought about moving the king instead. I just felt like the outcome was ultimately the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if it helped your rook or not. Again, I haven't looked at it to see. I'm not feeling great here. I think I offered a draw, or I pressed on Lee chess. I don't play. I don't. You have to press it twice. I pressed it once,
You
but
know,
then
it's funny because I saw at some point you messaged me saying draw.
yes.
But to be honest with you, I never look at the message stuff. I'm so
Okay.
concentrated on the board.
Yeah. So I think at this point, I probably was thinking draw would be good because I'm very much afraid of this pawn and this position. And just even though I have the knight, I'm just not sure I can hold it all together with a minute to go. And
And
now
I do have counterplay in your seventh rank, I think.
yeah,
So
100%. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm very much afraid of the rook counterplay and the pass pawn. So this move, just trying desperately to get into the game with the knight.
Yeah.
And
Pawns have to be pushed.
here, here, I'm actually feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think I should be. I do. But with 50 seconds to go, now you've got 20 seconds. So I was really thinking I could do this. And now the only thing I've peaked at, because I went over my mistakes from the game, this actually, so right here, I make what, unbeknownst to me, is a mistake. I take my knight this way instead of, if I had gone here, this presents major problems for you because it's a fork. It essentially is, because I'm threatening knight fork here and I'm threatening your piece here.
Yep. Yep.
But with 50 seconds to go, all I'm seeing is if I jump my knight to here, I have your pawn here if I want it, and I guess we go from there. But
I've been pawns.
I didn't know what else to do at this spot. And again, the reason I'm thinking draw is because I'm very afraid of these two pawns in the
Yeah.
center.
And I'll
And
tell you what, the time that I had too, I was not thinking particularly rationally at this point. I mean, this is one of the great things about playing game 30
right.
chess is it forces me out of my comfort zone because I'm used to game 45 and game 90
Mm-hmm.
with 30-second increment.
Yeah. So here.
That was my mistake.
Really?
I think I think I could have just pushed D5 immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you
Now,
do
what are you going to do?
yeah, what am I going to do is the major question, because if you push and we can just play it real quick, but if I go
Yeah.
here,
Yep. Go up.
probably go up.
And then I'll go over
Got
to
the pawn.
I'll attack your knight first. No, I'll
Really?
attack your knight first
Okay.
to avoid checks.
Yuck.
And then if you take the pawn,
You
I
take
got a check. I think I have it. No, I could just take it. Yeah, I could take it.
But then I've actually got this pawn, which eases up a little bit,
I'm not so sure.
or I've got check. But again, we're just doing this.
Yeah.
So we're not analyzing anything. I don't know
Yeah.
the best path, but I do have a knight to burn if I need it, and I can get close to.
I think it gets real complicated because if you check,
Yeah,
I'll move over to E3.
I think that's
So just play it through real quick. I'll move over to E3.
okay. I can take. I have another pawn if I want
Take
it.
what?
I can take that pawn if I want it, and then I can bring my knight back into play a little bit. But
Yeah, I think if you take the knight, if you take the pawn, I take the G pawn. And now you've got to be careful that you've only got one pawn left. So if that rook gets exchanged,
yeah,
you lose.
yeah, okay. Anyway, I don't know.
Not any of that. So yeah, you offer the draw.
I
I
did.
offered the draw, you declined it, and then
I
you
did
offered
because
the
I
draw.
thought I was gonna get greedy. Here's where my mental state was at, was that I don't have a win yet in the league, and I was between a draw against Coach Brion. Don't get me wrong, is great, but man, if I could have got that one win here,
Win would have been wonderful. Huh?
it would have been great. But again, we decided on the draw with, I had 11 seconds and I thought you had less than this. I thought you were down to like 6, if I remember.
That's moving pretty quick now.
Yeah, I don't think the game actually shows it here, but I believe somewhere it was right about here where the draw was offered. So
yeah.
And I don't know if this was I'm showing one more move, but I don't think you made this move in the game, right?
No, that would have been a killer.
I was gonna say I don't think you did. So
No.
I was showing Martin this morning, and I don't think that was a move. Anyway, here's where we were at. We decided to draw. I thought it was a fun game. I learned quite a bit. Just even preparing for the game, I learned quite a bit, and that's all I can really hope for.
That is one of the nice things about this system, and the two tournaments I play on chess.com is you're allowed 2 weeks per game. So you have plenty of time to research what your opponent generally does and prepare for it.
Yeah.
But I thought out of the opening, it was pretty even. You maybe had a slight edge. I thought through the middle game, I had a definite advantage. And then I blundered. And then you had a definite advantage. And after that, I was just trying to create counterplay wherever I could.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty dynamic game.
Yeah. So appreciate it. It was fun playing. Thanks for going over it. And I hope by us doing this, we took a long time. We had said this morning this would take 10 minutes. Again, I mentioned when we get, the two old guys together, we we
Yeah.
go a little overboard. So we took about 30 minutes, but this is what we would do on a regular basis if given the chance. And that's what this chess league provides.
And when you annotate your game now, and I annotate my game, we're much more informed about, we're not just relying on the computer,
Yeah.
which doesn't tell you anything really.
Yeah. Except blunders.
Okay.
Thanks, Coach Brion. Have a great
Yeah,
rest of the week,
have a good rest of your week.
too. Thank you.